Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 3, and today I'm going to be giving you part 9 of What If Naruto Had the Ultimate Nature Bloodline. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual, share this to all your friends in social media platform, and also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode over Anime King of What If Naruto Was Told about the Uzumaki clan from the beginning, and enjoy that guys. And also stay tuned for a brand new episode over in Anime King 2, which I hope you guys enjoy. And also guys, remember if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and join Anime King 2, Anime King 3. Yes, I indeed have 3 channels, which I post what fun every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. And yeah, without further ado, what do you say we begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last time we left off, we found out that Orochimaru had left the Akatsuki, as the masked man, Madara, called himself that name, was talking to Nagato at the moment. Yes, Orochimaru of the Sun had left the Akatsuki, and doing so he had took the ring with him, something that they had needed, but he took it and he left the Akatsuki. We then skipped to a base in the hidden zone where Orochimaru was, as the man was obsessed. Orochimaru was first obsessed with the Sharingan, but ever since he lays eyes on Naruto's, and known what they can really do, as he could master all nature transformation in the world, not to mention doing so those eyes also give you all nature bloodline. It was amazing, it was marvelous. Orochimaru wanted it, but there was something that he did not know about it. He did not know how the eyes exactly work, given that it was only previously shown one time in history from a leader of the Uzumaki clan that passed on after taking down 3 Jinchurikis, 3 Kagis, and thousands of shinobis. Orochimaru did not know if removing the eyes would cause them to be inactive. They were so mysterious he did not know, so there will have to be a lot of testing involved. That is why he left the Akatsuki. They wanted Naruto for themselves, to remove the Bichu from him, but he didn't want that. He didn't want that at all. He wanted to experiment on Naruto and see how those eyes tick. And being the Akatsuki, he couldn't do that. Meanwhile, Kurasuke was sent towards Konoha along with Yujito. Them and their team was going there to test Naruto. Only he wanted to see if Naruto was a threat, as Minato was already too troublesome to deal with, and if his son was going to be a threat in the future. He gave Kurasuke the option to eliminate him in the exam. Yes, she will have to determine because he wouldn't be there, but she will be going to her team though. Yujito was also given the same objective as the Raikage. Want to know how dangerous his boy is going to be, not to mention the rumors going around. They call him Naruto Uzumaki, not Naruto Senju, and it made them start to think about the previous Uzu and what the leader of the Uzu said before he died. The Uzumakis will never fall, and now that they heard that this boy possessed the nature eye, it was starting to scare them. Meanwhile, something was happening to Naruto. He didn't know what it was, but lately he couldn't feel anything. Emotionally, he knew that he loved his parents. He knew that he knew about the feelings, but yet he just couldn't feel them as strong as he did. Something was wrong with him. He didn't know if it had to do with his eyes or what. He hadn't told anyone about this. He pretended like he was gonna kill himself as an Anvu flashed in front of him. He wanted to know why he was being watched. Did his father think that he was a flight risk or something? He noticed whenever him and Menma separate, the Anvu came after him. As it was a girl Anvu, she didn't remove her mask or tell him her identity. But after a little talking, he managed to make her keep it to herself of this incident, and he will keep the rest to himself as well. The day finally came for Chunin exams, the day before they had met the science team, where they had met Gaara, but Naruto chose to just ignore that for now. As they finally made their way towards the exams, getting there, they saw a few others there. But the tension got thick. As they were walking, Naruto felt it, all eyes on him. As he turned, over to the side was a Kumo team, and to the right was the Stone team. His father had already explained to both him and Minma what he feared that was going to happen in the exam, to get them ready for the exam. And they were. So yeah guys, so basically that's what I thought. You guys can switch across the place, check out for yourself, so this is in this new episode. The group was currently walking towards the room 301, as Naruto was in deep thought. His emotions were becoming really concerning, so he started to read up more about the leader of the Uzumaki clan. There was a lot of documents, a lot of journals, many things that his mother had brought back, because without the blood seal, no non-Uzumaki could go into the sanctuary of the Uzumaki compound at the land of Uzo. And his mother had went there, along with a group, and they brought back what they could. And there was a lot of things documenting the clan, and many things. That is how Naruto was able to master all of the bloodline that came with his eyes, because all of them were there. All of the abilities, all of the techniques that the leader of the Uzumaki clan knew. So it didn't matter what, Naruto could learn and master them by himself. Although he was not completely there yet. There was something that was bothering him though. The Uzumaki leader chose not to fight most of the time. Even in dire, dangerous situations, the man always chose to find peace and calm. And there was documents of him always being around family. Always expressing his care and love. Even while he was going through peace talks and he was attacked on the main road, he just subdued the enemy, he never killed them. As Naruto looked down at his hand as he was walking, as he wondered if it was his eyes that were tampering with his emotions, because it just recently appeared. After everything happened with Mito, it appeared. He didn't know what was going on, and it was becoming concerned to him, because the more he fought, the more he trained, the more he thought of getting revenge, the more things were slipping away from him, and he didn't like it. Yet he knew how he felt about the people around him. He knew. That is why he went and talked to Sesame. Because that relationship between them was getting strained. It was like they weren't even friends anymore. Because most times he just couldn't bother to even talk to any of them. Because a part of him just didn't want to. And he didn't like that. Because he saw that his mother was worried. She knew that something terrible happened, but she wanted him to continue on with his life. She didn't want him to fall into depression at this young age. She didn't want that for him, and his father already had envoys watching over him like he was a flight risk. He didn't want things to stay this way. As Naruto paused as he arrived towards the door, the real 301. Well, I guess we should go in, said Sakura, as she grabbed onto the handle, as she opened the door. The moment the door was open, as the five of them stepped inside, bloodlust from everyone turned towards them. All eyes locked on them, as everyone was sending a wave of killing intent. Pathetic, said Menma, as he looked towards the people in the room. They were trying to cover them down with this pitiful, worthless amount of killing intent. As Menma's eyes changed, they became slightly more crimson, and he decided to show them what bloodlust was. The room was then filled, as many inexperienced Genins, some of them who were turned away from the whole thing, felt it. It felt like their body was being submerged in water and they could not breathe. Many of them dropped to their knees, as Menma's eyes were locked on all of them around the room, a piercing gaze that could tremble one's soul. The malice, the rage of the Kyuubi was far stronger than anything they have to show. Over to the side, the blonde from Kumo looked up, feeling that unnatural bloodlust. As the girl beside her was a blonde as well, someone in her teammate that narrowed her eyes. She could tell that this wasn't natural. The boy in the corner right here also glanced towards the door, as he looked perplexed at the scene. And the Kunoichi from the stone, Kurosaki, glanced over as well, feeling the unnatural bloodlust. It was different from what they were doing. Something completely different. Menma calmed himself as the room returned back to normal. Everyone, all of them, that wasn't those three before, turned their head, choosing to ignore the group. Sakura was petrified. She was too close to Menma, and she felt it. as she looked at him with slight worry. She was really glad, really glad that he was a Konoha ninja. Really glad. Sesame didn't seem so affected. Well, she wasn't that close to Menma. Sasuke on the other hand felt it. Just a glimmer of it though. And it was just gone in a second. As Naruto was standing there, he seemed to be completely out of it. His eyes were blank. For someone who has such strange eyes, you could see a lot of emotion run across them. Sesame placed a hand on his shoulder as he turned towards her. "Are you okay?" she asked. "Yeah. I just spaced out for a moment," he said. "I'm fine." As Menma looked towards Naruto, but he did not say anything, as he just leaned up against the wall. As Naruto walked forward and stood beside him. "The blonde," he said. As Menma turned his eyes towards the blonde from Kumo that he had saw earlier. "The raven here won from the stone." As Menma turned his eyes towards her, Kurosaki eyes were glued on Naruto, and so was the blonde. Yujito and Kurosaki was staring at him. "I guess they're gonna be the tests," Menma said. "It seems that way," said Naruto. "What are you gonna do?" asked Menma. "Well, they're staring so much. Might as well introduce myself." Menma said nothing, as Naruto started to walk. Kurosaki was narrowing her eyes as she saw him walking directly towards her. Her teammate, a boy known as Hibachi, as he had the control over bees. A built like the Aburame clan, but he couldn't control every bug, just bees. And towards her other side was a rather large boy. His name was Akisaki. As she was surprised, he was coming directly towards her. Yes, there was no mistake in it. As Naruto paused, Hibachi stood a little in front of Kurosaki. As the granddaughter of Tishikagi, he had to make sure that she was protected. She was a leader of Hidden Stone after all. Yet she had this arrogant smirk on her face because, like usual, she was a rather arrogant girl. "How may I help you?" she said, starting off with a calm tone. The both of them were relatively on the same height, but compared to Akisaki they were small, as the boy was rather larger than them. The boy with the glasses, Hibachi, he was also a heavy-set fellow. He had black glasses around his eyes. He was wearing standard brown, and a grayish color that seemed to belong to the Hidden Stone. "I thought I might as well introduce myself. You've been staring at me since I've been walking on the corridor," said Naruto. "Can you tell me why? It's really becoming annoying." "Huh. You have some balls," she said. "Just walk up to me and feel like you can say what you want to say." "And why can't I?" said Naruto. "Do you know who I am?" she said. "No." "You mind enlightening me?" "Well, if you must. I am Kurosaki, granddaughter of Tishikagi. So you better watch what you're saying." As Naruto looked at her, a stare, looking at her quite perplexed. She still smirked though. "Is that supposed to mean something to me?" Naruto asked. Her eye twitched a bit. "Well, you're just a naive kid, so I wouldn't expect you to know. But me being here is a political stance, so it's better if you just watch yourself. After all, wouldn't want to start something that you leaf huggers can't finish." "Is that supposed to be an insult?" said Menma. "Leaf huggers? That makes absolutely no sense." Hibachi decided to step in before this could escalate anymore. "Look, we're not friends, and let's not pretend to be friends. Would you guys just leave?" "I'm surprised, because if I remember correctly, I'm not in your village. So how could you order me around my own village?" "You have a rather smart mouth on you, brat," said Kurosaki. "I suggest you watch it from now on. After all, you wouldn't want me and my team to take you as a target in the exam." "But by all means come," said Naruto. "I've always wondered who's the first person I'll get to kill." The way he said it, and not to mention the smile on his face, it made her tremble for a moment, but yet her arrogance did not falter. Bold words. Something like that can get your head chopped off rather quickly. "I told you to watch that mouth of yours. Seems like I'm gonna have to shut it for you," she said. As Naruto simply smiled, he then started to walk off. not saying something else. As Minma narrowed his eyes towards him. Well, we're definitely their target now, said Minma. I was looking forward towards it, said Naruto. After all, why wait? Let them come. As Naruto's smile was still on his face, the reason being he just couldn't feel it. Usually he will know when to smile and when to not, but because of his state that he was in right now, he couldn't control his smile. It was weird. That was another part that was aggravating him. When he was supposed to look serious, his smile came on, but at least it gave people a chilling feeling because when he said things like back then, he was not joking. He always wondered who would be the first person that he will kill. What about Kumo? Not now, said Naruto. I want to see if they're going to come after us himself. Just wait, said Naruto, as they made their way back towards the group that was having a conversation with someone else. A older Konoha shinobi. The moment Naruto got close, he felt this weird feeling from the guy. He wasn't a powerful sensor like his mother. Minma, on the other hand, sensor ability was better. As he narrowed his eyes, this guy, he seemed hollow, fake as he spoke to the Jennings. Despite the smile on his face, there was nothing underneath the surface. Just cold, blank exterior. He then turned as he looked towards the two boys. His eyes flashed towards Naruto for a moment and Minma felt it. Glee. It was like an exciting glee washed over his soul. Glanced at his headband, he was an older Konoha shinobi. Who are you? Said Naruto. Oh, sorry about that. I guess you'll be surprised coming back to see your friends talking to a stranger. But my name is Kabuto Yakushi. What are you doing here? Naruto asked. Right to it, I see, said Kabuto. Well, he's just telling us a couple points here and there, said Seisumi. He's also giving us tips about the other shinobis. Tips, you say, said Naruto. Yes, just give me a name, and I'll find the information. Naruto Senju, Naruto said. Naruto Senju, huh? Well, if I am not mistaken, isn't that you? Yes. I'd like to see what you know. Alright then, as Kabuto spun the card in his finger, as he applied chakra to it. Well, right now Kabuto paused as the card was gone from his hand. Kabuto stood there a bit shocked. No, the brat can't be so fast. As Naruto was holding on to the card, Kabuto was shocked by the speed. He never expected it. And the thing was, he felt nothing. Usually, people had this sense when they were going to attack, but there was nothing coming from Naruto. As Naruto handed the card to Minma, after looking over it, Minma looked over the card, as he held it in his arm. He just held on to the card, not saying anything. Before his hand started to heat up as he started to generate fire chakra towards his arm. Hey, what are you doing? Said Seisumi couldn't get a finish as Minma burned the card in his arm, destroying it. Might I ask what was that for? Asked Kabuto with a friendly smile. Seems like things are really getting troublesome over here, said the voice, as Shikamaru and his group came by. He gave Naruto a slight nod, as Naruto returned back the nod. He knew Shikamaru quite well. Kabuto looked at Minma, and then back at Naruto. The air started to get thick and tense for some reason. As Kabuto was confused. There was no way that they knew anything about him, but yet, they seemed like they were ready to attack. The both of them standing beside each other. Despite just being mere brats, it looked rather fearsome. Until, yo guys, said Kiba as he walked inside. As he came over towards Naruto and Minma. I haven't seen you guys in a while, he said, as he wrapped both arms around their shoulders. They were the best sets of friends in the academy, but given recent missions, he hadn't seen them in a while. He knew what happened to Mito. Kiba had a big crush on Mito. He was quite saddened. But he made it a sworn duty of his to not make the brothers be so swept up by despair. So he was going to cheer them up every chance that he got. As Choji came over as well, with a smile on his face greeting them. As Naruto greeted them back, Kabuto kept a stern eye on Naruto, wondering why did Minma burn the card, and why didn't he allow him to say anything, not to mention his speed. His speed surprised him. Minma turned his head as there was a poof. Right after. Alright you maggots. The first phase of the exam begins now. Meanwhile, inside of the Jonin lounge. Cameras were inside so the Jonins could watch everything, as Uncle was sitting there munching on some dongos. Well, seems like it's gonna be a fun show this time around, she said, with a smile on her face. Standing there was Yamato. Kakashi was also there, as Yamato was surprised to see him at first, but it seemed like he was none on duty, along with his secondary captain, as it was none other than Itachi, as he was watching his brother with a smile on his face. "What do you think, Itachi?" Uncle asked. Itachi looked towards her with a smile. "I think you're correct," he said. "They weren't wearing their masks." As Itachi didn't like to stay in Uncle's presence for too long. The girl was just a bit too much for someone like him. It was just a, well, way of talking and all that. "Well, your little brother is competing, so you can stay here and watch. If he's anything like you, I'm sure he's gonna ace his exam pretty easily. I heard about your sister though. She's quite a prodigy, they say. But I haven't heard that your brother is that awesome. Haven't you trained them yourself, Itachi?" "The both of them can handle themselves," Itachi said. Although he must admit Sesame is a lot stronger than Sasuke. Their father always praised them, but especially her, about her rising skill. That leaves Sasuke a bit out of the loop, so Itachi was always there when he could to train Sasuke as well, to make sure he'll be ready for any challenge. And Sasuke has been putting the work. It will pay off soon. "So what do you think, Yamato?" said Kakashi as he glanced towards the team. "Well, recently, I haven't been putting much work with Naruto and Menma. They just do things on their own. And the Hokage has given them special permission to take this exam, as the both of them. I'm currently in control of Team 7 with Sesame, Sasuke, and Sakura. But I have no doubt that they would pass. The three of them has been showing great improvements, and not to mention they're ready. They're ready to become Chunin. They have the mindset, they have determination and drive. Well, we have to see if they get past the first exam first, with Ibiki as their proctor. The chances are slim," said Uncle with a smile on her face. "Shouldn't you be going off to get ready for the second part?" Uncle simply waved him off with a smile. "I already got all of that covered," she said. Meanwhile, back in the room, everyone was sitting down. Ibiki has already explained the rules. 45 minutes, cheating, 2 points lost. 10 points, teams get removed. 10 questions will be told at the end of the exam. As Naruto looked at the questions, Naruto wasn't someone that was lacking when it comes towards book studies, but these questions were just beyond ridiculous. It was too much. Some of them didn't even make sense that they were supposed to know. As Naruto eyes glanced around the room where he saw movements, cheatings, he then noticed one of them, the one to his left, 2 seats up, his body language and his chakra. He was making it obvious that he had the answers the way he was moving. His paper was already done. As Naruto glanced around where he saw another one, Minmo was up a bit more than Naruto as he saw them as well. As there were some people that came in with Ibiki. "Oh," said Naruto as he saw the papers wide open for them to cheat. "Oh, so that was it," he said to himself. As Naruto held his hand together, there was a small controlled burst of chakra. Ibiki felt his senses tingle a bit, but he couldn't pinpoint where it was. As Naruto released his hand on the table, the next moment a small ice mirror formed. It was so transparent you could barely see that it was there. As a Chunin wasn't paying that much attention though, as inside of Naruto's hand, the center of his hand didn't seem to be there anymore. Instead there was a glass mirror, which he was seeing everything from Chunin's paper as he started to write, taking down all the answers. Menma saw something appear on his desk. It was an ice mirror, where he saw all the answers being reflected to him. A smile came on his face as he started to write as well, taking down all the answers. Sesame and Sasuke both had their Sharingan activated, as they were mimicking the movements of someone in front of them that seemed to know. On the other hand, Sakura seemed to be breezing through this. The girl was smart, but was she that smart? It was rather amazing. Kiba was using Akamaru in his head until the minutes passed and it was over, as Ibiki told them all to put their pens down. As they stopped, "Alright," he said as he looked around the room. "Now for the 10th question. If you don't want to take this, you don't have to, and you can leave right now and take the exam in the next 6 months. Why would anyone do that? Someone said in a sarcastic tone. Because, Ibiki said. Well, I'm glad you asked. If you fail, you will never be able to take this exam ever again, and you will remain Jennings for the rest of your life. What? Murmurs start to go in the room. He was joking, right? Many of them start to mumble. He must be joking. But how? Said Kiba. That guy over there, as he pointed towards Kabuto, has taken the exam more than one time before. Well, I guess you messed up because I am the proctor for this year. And what I say go. So you have a choice. Take it and fail, and never be able to participate ever again. Or leave now and be able to take it 6 months later. I'll give you a chance to think over it. But I'm not waiting for too long. As people start to get up and leave the room. Kurosaki glanced towards Hibashi and Akisaki. Neither of them moved. She wasn't going to move either. This was just a coward tactic. If you think about it, how could he stop her grandfather from promoting her? That made no sense at all. How could Konoha tell British Kage what to do? Worse, they're not on good terms. Kumo was thinking the same thing. The sand did not move either, as many others started to leave from the grass. There was this woman though. This woman in the room. As Naruto paused, he turned. His eyes met briefly with her. She had a headband. A headband from the grass. Her chakra felt so electric. It was buzzing all over the place. It was like she was trying to hide something. Or perhaps it was some sort of bloodline. He did not know. He returned as he watched people leave the room one after another. All of them dipping their head in shame to their teammate, leaving with them. Meanwhile, Sakura was panicking as she didn't know what to do. If she gave up right now, she didn't know what to do. Was she really ready for this? She shook her head. She has been training hard. No, she would not give up, she thought to herself. As she looked over, she saw Sesame smile at her. She gave her back a smile as Sasuke was there, coolly as ever. No, she would not give up, she thought to herself. Minma didn't budge, or neither did Naruto. Ibiki said to himself. Seems that no more is leaving, he said. Alright, for those of you who stay, you all pass. Wait, what? As murmurs broke out once again. Enough, Ibiki said. As a chunin, you will be given many situations where you have to leave the mission or stay behind. As Ibiki went on to explain the reason, everyone listened intently, some of them kind of pissed off, because they were panicking so much that they had to leave. But at least they breathed a sigh of relief knowing that you're safe, and they wouldn't be disqualified from the exam forever. Well, they weren't thinking that good, knowing that how could the man stop them from other villages? The window then burst open, as a banner was hanged up with kunais. It read, introducing the super sexy Mirashi Anko, as Anko stood there in the middle with a smile on her face. As she looked at all of them, as you can see, my name is Anko Mirashi, and I'll be the proctor of the second exam, she said with a smile. Ibiki, you must be losing your touch. I mean these numbers. Ibiki simply scoffed. Not my fault they want to die, he said, as many of them pale at that. Well, I'll cut this number down by half, as she licked her lips. Alright, all of you, follow me to the forest of death. If you're late, you're disqualified, she said with a smirk as she jumped through the window. As Naruto and Minma both got up, the group of 5 seemed to merge back together, despite not being a full team. They just seemed to hang out together. As with that, they made their way. As they arrived, as Anko was busy, she was about to get to them in a minute, as she seemed to be talking to one of the other chunins. Hibachi turned towards Kurosaki. What do we do, he asked. We haven't tested him yet, but his overconfidence. I think he is quite powerful, she said, just by a mere glance. She had a smirk on her face though. She liked them when they were overconfident and powerful. Well then, if he is a problem. As she turned towards Akisaki, who punched his fist into his palm, as she smiled. Meanwhile, so that's the guy, huh, said Samui. As she looked towards Yujitu. Yeah, that's the guy, said Yujitu. What do you think? A boy beside her. He had silver hair, brown eyes, wearing a black t-shirt with a grayish jacket over it, black pants and black boots. His name was Ryu, as he was also a member of their team. Him, Samui and Yujito. We have to find him in the forest here and test him. Let's hear what the rules are first. Let's see what's gonna happen. The both of them nodded. Yujito was basically the leader of this team despite her not being a sensei. She was the strongest, and she was given an order what to do, and they had to follow her orders, her commands. Alright you maggots, Uncle said that smirk, as she enjoyed being the dictator. As she turned towards him and smiled. Yes, this is where you'll be staying for the next 5 days. As the forest seemed to be a part of this, as there was a hissing sound that made many kids look towards the forest. Many deadly things in there. Man eating plants. So I suggest you watch yourself. 5 days, Choji said, as he munched on some chips. What are we gonna do for food? Well, the forest is alive. So I suggest you hunt. Or don't be hunted. Now, as she pulled out 2 scrolls, each of you, well, your teams will be getting a scroll. You have 5 days to find the opposite scroll and return it to the forest of death. If you open the scroll, you're disqualified. If you lose a teammate in there, you're disqualified. If you reach after the 5 days are up, you're disqualified. Well, that's pretty much it. Oh, and you have to sign these waivers. So, if you die, Konoha won't be responsible. Many of them gulp at that. Yes, you can die, Uncle said that smirk. She didn't notice one of them not paying attention to her. It was that Naruto kid. He was quite popular, almost everyone in the village knew him. He was the son of the Hokage after all. She heard so many amazing things about him, but she never got to see it for herself before. She never actually saw him fight. She decided to test his reflex. She pulled the kunai and threw it. She watched as kunai was going towards him. At the very last moment, he tilted his head as the kunai stabbed into the ground behind him as Uncle flashed behind him, trying to resemble his father in some way, with a burst of speed. But yet he was unfazed. He did not move. As she pulled out another kunai as she placed it right at his armor. You know, being distracted out here will get you killed. As Naruto said nothing, he just looked down. Suddenly, Uncle felt something strange as Naruto turned. So quickly grabbed the kunai out of her hand and pointed forward. The lady stopped. Oh, I'm sorry, she said. You dropped this. As her tongue was extended ridiculously, handing Uncle back her kunai. I thought I'd return it. Her eyes were looking directly in Naruto's eyes, not flinching or unmoving. As Naruto felt something strange, he just couldn't pinpoint as Minma turned his head as well. There was something about this lady's chakra that felt weird. It was familiar, but yet it was so twisted, moving around at the same moment he couldn't tell. Well, I see that you're ready, Uncle said, even though you didn't look it, as she looked towards Naruto, who lowered the kunai as the lady looked at him. Uncle took her kunai as she flashed it off. That lady's tongue was over it, kind of reminder of someone she knew. Well, I hope we have one of our time, lady said as she moved off. Can I have my kunai back, Uncle asked as she saw Naruto still holding on to it. As Naruto turned towards Uncle. Your Uncle Midarashi, he said. Yes. I mean, I told my name before. Known as Snake Mistress in Konoha. I wonder, how have I not seen you force of death before? So you're the one messing with my little pets out there. I noticed there has been a little bit of disturbance. Recently, I've been back to back at IT department and on missions. So I'm afraid I wasn't able to visit there so much. So you're the one causing my little pets, snakes, to panic all over. Panic, said Naruto. Recently, all the animals have been driven deeper into the forest. Seems they're afraid of something. Or must I say someone? Have you been training there? That's quite risky. If it's not risky, it's not worth it, said Naruto. It seems like you should get back. People are starting to lose their panic. After all, that is your job, to make them worry. Seems you have been noticing more than I thought. Well, I am going to be watching you carefully in there. Hope you don't die, she said. As Naruto said nothing, as Uncle returned back to her spot, Minma walked up as Minma went for the scroll. There was a containment seal in his armor as he sealed it inside. as Team 7 went for their scroll as well, and the rest of the members went for their scroll one after another. Uncle was smirking as she watched all of them. She was particularly interested in Naruto after all. She was just gonna let the kunai cut him across the cheek a bit, but yet, he dodged it without much effort. Now she was interested, as she licked her lips in excitement. All of them gathered in front of the gates, as they got themselves ready. As Minma glanced over towards where Team 8 was, as he saw Hinata, she smiled as she waved at him. He smiled back, but he did not wave. As Naruto glanced back, he knew that Minma liked Hinata, but given recent developments, he didn't seem to focus that much anymore. And he wanted his brother to be happy. Yes, he wanted all of his family members, everyone he knew, to be happy, despite everything. But things were changing and they were difficult. Hinata had been... She took it hard after Mito's death. The both of them were best friends. Mito was able to pull Hinata out of her shy little shell. She was the one that brought her mostly around the house. So that is why Minma gained his crush on her. But since then, they haven't talked about it. Or Naruto didn't know if he liked her anymore or what. But if he did, he should go for it. He didn't want Minma's emotion to be cut off like his, because he didn't like it, and it was starting to affect the way he thinks, and he didn't want that for Minma either. As the gate started to open up, both boys nodded as they dashed inside. Meanwhile, Kushina was currently sitting down. Beside her was Mikoto as the both of them were in the park, taking some fresh air, a breather, from the house. Tsunade was at the hospital, as Kushina decided to go out for a stroll in the park. She decided to invite Mikoto. It was always better to have her there. The girl was her best friend after all. The both of them were just taking the cool, fresh air. So, how has things been? Well, everything has been going smooth lately. Concerning my boys, I'm still worried about Naruto. Mikoto nodded. Naruto has come by a few times to speak to her husband about what she did not know. When she asked, Fukaku told her curiosity. He didn't specify what was the boy curious in, but his father seemed to agree with that, so she didn't question so much. But she had noticed it. Minma, when you look in his eyes, you could see it. Whenever he saw his mother, whenever he saw his father, whenever he talked about the baby, there was this happiness. But Naruto, it was just slowly diminishing. Day by day, as she was worried for him. One so young must not be so depressed already. It wasn't going to be good when he grew up. Kushina sighed. I don't know if this relates to the eyes or what, but I'm concerned. You still think that is real? Yeah, said Kushina. She had told Mikoto what she thought. It was just a theory. She also told Minato about it, but they did not know if it was reality. They did not want to make Naruto worry, so they did not tell him. You see, the previous leader, he wasn't sure himself. Well, no one was. There was a speculation that overusage of the eyes might cause distance with oneself. Those words were cryptic. That was all it said. The man never physically spoke about this. It was just the attendants spoken about it, as they seemed to be concerned, and rumors spread in the clan. But the people loved him. They were Uzumakis. Uzumakis loved their people. Distance between oneself, meaning one getting more distance between themselves, cutting off certain things, and recently, Naruto has been doing that mostly, focused on his training. I'm sure everything's gonna be fine, said Mikoto. Despite everything, he still loves you. He loves his father and he loves his brother. And recently, he has started to come by lately, and talk to Sasuke and Sasami once again. So I'm sure that he's just going through some things. And as long as you're there for him, as long as you're all there for him, he'll work it out. Yeah, I'm sure you're right. But I'm still worried. I'm worried as well, said Mikoto. The Chunin exams were dangerous in our time. I don't know how they're gonna be this time, but I'm sure that they will go through it. They have been trained this entire time to do just this, so I'm not that worried so much. Don't worry, we'll get to see them to participate in the finals, because I know it, all of them are gonna pass through, and they're all gonna become Chunin soon. And Well, I don't like that, said Kushina. I wish I could stay the way they are right now. Perhaps even go back a few more years. So I can just hold them and hug them forever. That would be the dream, said Migato with a smile. Well, soon enough, as she poked Kushina's belly. You can do it once again. As Kushina smashed, she held onto her belly. Meanwhile, as three Rain Jennies were currently making their way. The three of them had a smile on their faces as they looked down towards a team of three. They nodded. The first one jumped out as he pulled out an umbrella. Wasting no time, he spin whipped in mid-air. Hundreds of sandbombs came fluttering out toward the team. Immediately, the two on the right and left went through hand sign as they turned and spew massive fireballs that combined, burning away all the sandbombs. When the fire finally cleared, the third one was gone. The other two looked around before the second one turned as a fist slammed into his face. Sakura's fist picked the man off the ground as he slammed into his partner. The both of them slammed into a tree as he got knocked out cold. The third one landed right in the center. He quickly pulled out a kunai as he looked around. He never expected this at all. How did they notice them? Too slow. He heard the voice behind him before he was chopped in the back of the neck as he collapsed unconscious. Sesame reached down as she pulled out the scroll that he had. As she looked up with a smile on her face as Sakura jumped down. Seems you're in luck, said Sesame. First try, Sasuke said. Well, let's get out of here. Wait, Sesame said. I think we should find Naruto and Minma to see how they're going. Sasuke simply shrugged. It was 5 days. As Sakura nodded as they made their way off to find the group. Well, this place was large. Meanwhile, both Naruto and Minma were walking. The both of them seemed rather calm. I wonder, which one will come after us first, said Minma. I don't know, said Naruto. He then asked something that surprised Minma. Do you still like Hinata? Minma paused. Hinata, he said. You know, I don't know. We haven't talked much lately. Well, when you saw her today, do you feel the same as before? Kind of, Minma said. Well, I think you should explore that option, said Naruto. What? Sick of me already? Asked Minma. Naruto laughed. It sounded rather strange, well, to him. His own laugh sounded strange. He still didn't like this. I just think you should explore the concept, said Naruto. What about you, said Minma. Don't worry about me, said Naruto, I'm fine. Nah, said Minma, it's not gonna work like that. Where you tell me that you're fine, I should do things and not worry about you. You're my brother, you know that, right? And no matter what, I'm gonna be worried about you. So don't give me this stupid crap. Alright, fine, said Naruto. But really, I'm fine. Minma sighed. Say what you have to say. Let's just begin the hunt already. Thought you'd never ask, said Naruto. As the both of them turned their head to the right. That was when they paused, as he felt something strange. Minma could spread out his range even more. As he looked around, seems like we're surrounded. No, I don't think so, said Naruto as he focused. They're trying to fool us. Oh, hey guys, the voice. As they turned, as Sesame came walking out. I was looking for you. Oh, said Naruto, you were? Yeah. I mean, since we were working as a team in the beginning, I thought we might just all come together. And Naruto threw a kunai as Sesame dodged. Hey, are you trying to kill me? She asked. Minma went through hand sign, not wasting time. Winsta, Gale palmed, he says. He raised his hand. A burst of air shredding through the ground, forcing Sesame to flip and twist in mid-air. The moment she landed on the tree, a brutal kick came in. She ducked as Naruto's feet obliterated the tree, adding so much shock to his feet. Sesame landed. Well, seems like I can't fool you too. Sesame form started to shift into a woman. Wearing a hat, it was a grass Jenny. I'm surprised. I never thought that you'd be the first one to come after, said Naruto. Well, seems like today's your lucky day. You've been watching me since the exam began. I must say, are you that interested in me, said Naruto. Oh, you have no idea. But we don't care, said Minma as he went through hand sign. Minmuff released another massive gust of wind as the grass ninja leaped away. The next second the earth trembled as something burst out of the foliage. A giant reptilian snake, gleaming golden eyes as it came on them to pounce. As Naruto flashed through hand sign and placed it at his mouth. Boil release, he said, condensing steam as he blew a steaming mist from his mouth. The snake fluttered right into it and it stopped. Its body, its scales, started writhing in panic as they started to twist and burn as Naruto intensified the heat of the boil release, to the point where the snake started to scream and Naruto surprisingly poofed away. Naruto's eyes went wide at that. Summon. He ducked as a hand passed over his head. As 3 kunais came right over his head, striking the grass ninja right in the chest as Minma landed beside him. She jumped back as she landed. She brushed off the kunais though like they were nothing, surprising Minma, as she had used her hat, the tip of it, to deflect them. She pulled off her hat and threw it like a disc. As both boys ducked, the hat sliced through a tree as he was embedded with chakra. Fast, elegant, quick. Not even a word, and yet the both of you worked so perfect together. I admire that, she said. But I'm afraid I'm only here for one of you. Well, unless you have something that will entice me as well. Who the hell are you? Said Naruto. Your chakra made no sense. Who are you? I wonder if I must say. Nah, I should not. I mean, the moment I do say, you'll probably go and call your father, like the cowards you are. As she laughed, her laughter sounding quite sick. Well, I do enjoy seeing the looks on people's faces when I do what I do. Let's have some fun first. She opened her mouth as 2 snakes slipped her out of it. Both boys jumped back as they looked at each other. Who are you? Said Naruto, his tone becoming more angry as he spoke. Seems you figured it out. I mean, it's not common for someone to use my techniques. And you guys must read up about me after we met that day, Menma-kun, and my sweet little Naruto-kun. As Naruto's eyes narrowed as he watched, the girl pulled her face off, showing those gleaming golden eyes that you remember. Menma froze as everything slapped into him fully, the memories of that day. Seeing Mito's dying body, those gleaming golden eyes saying that they were going to take them and experiment on them. As Menma stood there. Orochimaru, said Naruto. Yes, you do remember me. Well, I would be rather hurt if you did not. Now, Naruto-kun, I'm here for you. You see, there's something I want that only you can provide. That group, said Naruto looking down. That group that you were a part of. Where are they? Oh, I'm afraid I abandoned that group a long time ago. Because they couldn't give me what I want. But you can, she said. You're quite special after all. And I'm afraid I'm not going anywhere without it. Menma still said nothing. Can you tell me their name, Naruto asked? I guess I can, after all. It's your last wish. They're known as the Akatsuki. Do with that as you may. Well, I don't see what you can do with it when you're coming with me. Oh, Menma-kun, Orochimaru said. What's wrong? Are you still bitter? Perhaps still bitter about your sister's death. I mean, you're just so still. At least Naruto-kun is speaking to me, Orochimaru said, with a smile on his face. He wanted them to attack him. He was going to subdue them rather quickly. He wanted them to just come straight at him. That is for the mockery. What's wrong? Have you stopped talking as well, Naruto-kun? Orochimaru asked. Meanwhile, inside the seal, laughter. Dark, twisted laughter could be heard. As the Kyuubi was watching everything unfold in front of him, he looked down towards the ground. In front of him, there were several holes. Several holes outside of his cell. There was a hole made from nothing but complete ice. A hole made from nothing but lava. and many others. At the moment, his chakra was being siphoned and poured into all of those holes. Something marvelous. As he watched as they started to swirl around and twist, they started to ignite and fuse together as a lot of his chakra was being siphoned. As he simply laughed, his laughter was filled with joy and excitement because he could feel the outside world. The more and more chakra that he took, the more he took from him, the Kyuubi could feel the outside world. Orochimaru waited. Well, if you won't come to me, I guess I will come to a distance in the forest. Yujito snapped her head around as there was a massive explosion. The wind bristled past them as Samui had to move as the whole trees in front of her got erupted out of the ground. Debris, everything was sent sailing. Kurosaki and her team had to duck for cover as the explosion blew everything away in the forest. Meanwhile, Sesame, Sasuke, and Sakura were shocked as he had to duck under a large oak tree that twisted and broke under the strain of whatever that was. A streak of visible red chakra could be seen in mid-air. The chakra was wide and flooding the entire place, as it was so potent and thick. The animals around run for their life, as the power was forcing them all to flee. Meanwhile, hey kitten, I think we have something else to talk about, said Nibi, inside of Yujito. It seems like something else was missing off that report. Something that no one else seemed to know. That power that she just felt. Those boys. This can't be, said Kurosaki. This chakra. It made sense now. What happened when they first met? What happened when he stepped inside that boy Minma? This power. As Akisaki looked towards her for the first time, he looked serious. Is he like Han? As Hibachi looked over as well. Meanwhile, Orochimaru was slammed into a tree. His left arm was completely frozen to the point where it couldn't even move. His right leg was twisted and broken badly. His stomach had a huge gash in it. As Orochimaru looked up, the both of them had changed as they came dropping down on him, eyes filled with so much rage, so much hatred. But guys, be in subs right here. If you want some next parts to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. Remember, share to all of your friends and social media platform. And also, guys, stay in tune for the rest of what is coming your way. And also, go over on Anime King and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Learned About the Uzumaki Clan from the beginning, and enjoy that, guys. And remember, if you're new, to go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And yes, guys, family, because I indeed have 3 channels: Anime King 2, and Anime King 3, which I post What If on every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and turn on that bell notification as you do. And yeah, guys, without further ado, I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Peace out.